right. All right, here we are back to day 2, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. So let's jump in here. We're going to talk about, yesterday we talked about how to get started in real estate and some of the issues that we're going to run into as we get started, right? The negative voices in our head, what will happen, and then how we overcome that by leveraging skill stacking. Today, I'm going to actually dive deeper into how we actually make money in real estate and start to plant seeds for you. That way you can come up with a clear game plan on how to move forward. Hopefully this makes sense. Let me know. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in, and I'm going to share my first lesson. This one right here, this lesson right here is like, I just wish, I wish I would have been given this lesson when I first started, not my real estate journey, but my adult life. Like the deal formula lesson, this right here is a game changer on how easy it makes it to understand what skills you have, where you need to develop skills, and where you can contribute. Now, it may not make us feel good, but it doesn't matter because we know what we need to work on. If we know what we need to work on, we can move forward. And that's the main thing we need to accomplish. So there's 3 key ingredients to every deal. All right. Grit. And all right, so grit is, there's a great book by Angela Duckworth, and the book title is called Grit. It's an amazing book. I've read it, my kids have read it, and it talks about how to overcome challenging obstacles in our lives. And then it also talks and just brings awareness to how few people actually have that skill of grit. But in essence, in this right here, grit is who's going to be doing the work. And we need to know that, right? So who's going to be doing the work? And let me figure out how to make this thing go left. There we go. Okay, perfect. All right, so grit, who's going to be doing the work? Then we need money. All right, who's going to be bringing the money? Then we need expertise. Who's going to be bringing the expertise? Now, if we identified this right now in real estate, let's just take a basic transaction. Well, if I am just an ordinary seller who has a property to sell, I have the property, but do I know how to sell it? And that's the answer is no. Do I have the money to sell it? Well, the answer is yes, because the money to sell the property is actually going to be coming out of my equity. So whenever you sell that property, let's just say you got a $100,000 house for round numbers, and we're going to sell it for $100,000. Okay, well, we're going to pay and we're going to provide the money from the equity that's in there to pay the expertise. Well, who's the expertise? Well, that's going to be the real estate agent, right? They're the ones coming in and listing the property, showing the property, negotiating the deal, and then they're going to be advising you on the deal. And if we broke this down and went even deeper, actually, it's not even the real estate agent that has the expertise. Actually, it's the broker in charge. We call that a BIC. BIC, broker in charge. And whenever you sell a property on the MLS and you're not actually using the real estate agent, the real estate agent is actually the person over here doing the grit. And the broker in charge and the brokerage, that's actually who you're paying for the experience. So hopefully that makes sense. I can dive deeper in it if I'm losing you, but let's keep that in mind. So right here, we have broker in charge, brokerage. So if we're using Berkshire Hathaway, all right, they're providing the expertise. Then they have real estate agents who are on the front line. The real estate agents, let's call her Sally, right? Sally is going to be doing all the work. And who's going to be providing the money? Well, we are. And this is just a regular house. All right. We're not actually talking about investing here. We're talking about just the process to list a property on the MLS and sell it. All right. We have to have these three in every deal. Now, what really gets interesting is whenever we start plugging these three components into our real estate operation. And this is going to bring so much clarity. And I know it did for me, and it's definitely helped others as well when I show them. And I don't know why it's so hard for me to figure out how to flip pages here. All right, so expertise. If we only have expertise, we're getting paid a fee. Okay. By the end of this, you're going to understand how to keep more of your money in any transaction. All right. And that's the key. So if you can hang out with me and let me go over these three key components to every transaction, by the end of it, you're going to have levers that you can actually pull. And by pulling these levers, you're going to be able to make more money and do less work. But you got to understand this. So expertise, we pay a brokerage a fee. All right. Money. All right. If we wanted to use somebody else's money. So for instance, when I started flipping homes, I didn't have any private money. I didn't have access to that. I had banks money and I had hard money, hard money. So with hard money, hard money lenders, anybody can get a loan, but it costs a fee, and that fee is called an origination fee. And you have origination fee and you have interest. So there's actually two there. Right. So if we plug in a hard money lender right here for money, I'm paying them a simple 1%, 2% origination fee, and using hard money, that's called points. All right. So anytime you hear the term points, PTS, it's essentially a fee that's coming up front whenever you take out that loan. But again, though, hard money lender, not using my own money, and I'm paying them a simple fee. All right. Then the grit. All right. Who's doing the work? Now, where we're at in our journey, a lot of you who are, listening and joining the Deal Boss Project, like you're in the work phase. All right. You are doing the work. You need to develop the skills. And because you're doing the skills, well, you don't have to do all of them. You can pay other people. You can pay a virtual assistant. All right. I have a team of virtual assistants and I pay them anywhere between $3 and $5 an hour. And they accomplish anything that I essentially tell them to do. But, just to serve you some good things that you can absolutely use a VA for is prospecting, right? To start conversations and hand them off to you to take them across the finish line. Another good thing is research. All right. You can pay a virtual assistant $3 an hour to do market research, and they can go out and find and pull lists. Like even if you want to do agent outreach, they can go ahead and have that entire list pulled, scraped, scrubbed, and figure out how to focus where you want to focus your energies to prospect. All right. There's 1,000 ways to use a VA. Even follow-up calls, right? With follow-ups, we want a VA with a little bit more experience because we want to move that conversation down the line in the sales process, but you can absolutely just pay them a fee. And by doing that, that frees you up. But maybe you're not there yet in your journey. If you're not there yet in your journey, it's okay, right? You just need to come back to this and say, okay, now it's time to hire a VA. But you don't have to have a VA to start out, right? Because we want to jump in here and not break the bank. We want to create more money in the bank. All right. So as I introduce these concepts, just know that it exists. But a lot of times we're wearing all of the hats in the beginning, and that's okay. So don't let anybody confuse you and tell you it's not okay. Now, what really gets good in the deal formula is whenever we start combining two of these. And now we start to control the deal. So for instance, if I get brought an opportunity from one of the Deal Boss members or a friend, anybody, then I'm not doing the grit. They already did the grit. But also I'll be providing the money and the expertise. So therefore, I'm just going to pay them a fee. And that's equal to a wholesale fee because they went out and they generated the deal. They generated the opportunity, then they brought it to me. And even if I got to close it, provide the money, etc., I'm just going to pay them a fee and then I'm going to do the expertise and money. But because I give the expertise and money, now I control the deal. And this is something that blows my mind when so many people they get interested in investing. They get interested in growing their wealth, making more money, but yet they want 100% of nothing. They don't even have a deal. They don't even have leads, but they're scared to death of people stealing what they don't even have. And it blows my mind. But yet it absolutely makes sense because again, we've been programmed to live in a scarcity mindset. So by understanding the deal formula, now you can clearly understand what to expect. If you're bringing the opportunity, but you don't have the expertise of the money, then you're not going to control the deal. You're just going to get a fee, and that's okay. Get the fee, move on, stack. All right. Now, on the other side, expertise and grit. All right. So maybe I don't have the money. Maybe I just studied and I've got a lot of reps and now I can jump in, I can generate deals, and then I can also negotiate a good exit plan like a subject to or a novation or even a cash transaction. There's nothing wrong with cash. Well, now I still control the deal because I can go out and get the money and I can just pay the money person a fee. So whenever I was flipping, well, whenever I first started, the only thing I had was the grit and I had to figure out the expertise. All right. And we did that. All right. Was it hard? Absolutely. But that's part of skill stacking. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to do the work and I'm not going to pay somebody to come in and advise me. Instead, I'm just going to learn the hard way. And this is, this was my journey through flipping. And then I paid a hard money lender over here for the money. And we flipped deal after deal after deal and built a, over a $2 million portfolio just doing that because I would flip a home, 2 homes, and then I would take the profits on that. And then I would add to my portfolio. Do I have the expertise to manage the portfolio? Not then. Now I do, but not then. I had to develop that. So again, skill stacking. Now, the last one, grit and money. So you don't have to have the expertise. Maybe you have a great paying job and you have a little bit of time. So you generate the deals and you're like, hey, you don't generate the deals. Maybe you generate the leads, right? You generate the leads and then you provide the money to finance them. And then you pay a closer a fee to come in and get that deal across the finish line. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, though, you're controlling the deal. Now, this is where it gets real interesting. All right. Whenever you get all 3. So whenever you start to get all 3, now we start to split. So you see, if I got expertise and money, I can keep 90 and I can pay the grit 10%. If I've got grit and money, I keep 90%. I pay expertise 10%. And these aren't set in stone percentages either. All right, all of that's negotiated. But however, if you look at the end of this, all right, let's go ahead and skip forward a little bit. If you have all 3, now you own the deal. So for instance, where I'm at in my journey right now, I have the expertise, I have the work ethic, and I can do the grit, I can do the work, and I have the money. So I own all of my deals. Like if I don't need someone else to come in there, then I can just take it across the finish line myself. And therefore I actually get 100% of everything. But there's actually something there because I developed the expertise, I developed the grit, and we do it over and over and over again. But in the beginning, it wasn't like that. All right. But this is how you start to get freedom. Okay. So you can't keep everything. All right. If I keep 100% of it, I'm stuck and my time is gone. Now, how am I ever going to grow? I'm never going to get a bigger operation. I'm never going to get more opportunities. It's just literally going to be what can I generate and what can I get across the finish line. You have to learn how to delegate. And how do we delegate? Well, if I have the expertise, I understand the grit, I have the money to do it. Well, now I can own the deal and I can pay all three of these a fee. So I'll pay expertise 10%, I'll pay the money 10%, and then I'll pay grit 10%, and I'm still left with 70% profit. All right. So earlier I said that what blows my mind is when people want 100% of nothing. And I see this so often. It's crazy. They're so scared of paying someone else a reasonable fee to help them win. And I get it because they don't have a lot of opportunities. So when that first opportunity comes through, they're like, hey, I got to get all of this. But they're not looking at the long game. And I went through the same thing. That's how I know that this exists, because I literally lived this and I didn't understand the deal formula. I didn't know about this. Like, I created this because all of a sudden, like when I started scaling and started bringing in team members, this made sense, right? Like, this is the answer. But in the beginning, I needed, it's not that I wanted, like I needed 100% of every deal because I didn't have the extra funds. And then, I was putting in all my time generating the lead, even renovating and flipping, right? Managing contractors, etc. I didn't want to pay an agent to list the property. I was just like, you know what? I'll go out and I'll get my wife to get her real estate license, and then she will list the home. And when she lists the home, we'll get that fee too, right? But what I realized was it didn't work out that way. So long story short, Lori, my wife, actually got her real estate license with the EXP brokerage and the real estate, residential side. Okay. I get confused because I got my commercial license with EXP. I kept it for 6 months. It was a nightmare. They literally wanted me to take every deal that I did in my real estate company and run it through their brokerage, which again, why would I do that? Because the brokers did not have more experience than I did. Okay. They just had a brokerage, but yet I was handcuffed. So I got rid of my license. Now rewind that whenever we was flipping, Lori got her license and she started listing our homes. Was there benefits? Maybe. But I can argue that there was actually less benefits to either one of us having our license than there were not having our license. So what I mean by that is she listed one of our homes, one of our flips, and then we was generating buyer leads, but she could not show the property to the buyers because she had interest in the property, and it was a conflict of interest. Right. And hopefully that makes sense. But because it was conflict of interest, the only thing that was benefit was that she was the sell side agent, which means she represented our company and she got paid the 3%, but we still had to pay 3% to the buyer's agent. And there was no way for Lori to actually get more buyers in there. Like if we brought a buyer, this happened a lot, actually. We brought buyers, and then our Lori's Bick, her broker in charge who oversees her and makes sure she's compliant, all that stuff, was telling her, hey, like, you're not allowed to show your own property. All right. If you do this, you will be getting in trouble. And again, conflict of interest. Right. And it blew my mind. And I tried to figure out loopholes and everything else. And what I found was, we don't need license, okay? Real estate, you don't have to have a license. If you do have a license, know why you have a license and do that. And the only benefit to having a license is really access to the MLS, and you're going to work for a broker who is going to allow you to go generate your listing leads or your buying leads, and then you're going to show properties, okay? That's not being an investor. And this is my opinion, but hey, it's my experience, okay? So take it or leave it. But I'm just being completely honest here. Because you don't want to get held up. You don't want to slow down your investing journey because you're thinking, oh, I need a license. And the answer is you don't. Right? Matter of fact, I can talk about it for a very long time of all the reasons why you do not need a license and why it will actually hurt you. So when we talk about the deal formula, well, in the beginning, you're probably going to come in and you're going to be given the grit and you're going to be developing the expertise. That's great. You get to keep that side of it. Go out and find the money and pay someone else the money, right? And then as you grow and as you develop yourself, you'll start to own the deals. Now, in the Deal Boss project, because we give you the complete platform, a lead generation machine, all the contracts, everything you need to get things across the finish line, every deal that comes on the dinner table is essentially yours. You have the expertise because you have a community who will help you solve problems. All right, you are doing the grit. A lot of it's automated, which is amazing. Now the money, well, that's private money, that's hard money, it's banks' money, and it can even be the seller's money when we start talking about creative finance. All right, so hopefully you're getting something out of that with the deal formula. I would love to know your feedback on this because it's game changing. Now, I mentioned earlier, like where I'm at now to scale. Well, right here at 70%, I can pay a closer. I can pay a transaction coordinator. I can pay a disposition company who will provide all the expertise to get that deal across the finish line. And they get a fee. They don't get a percentage of the deal. They get a fee. Most of the time it's like, a flat fee, or, we might negotiate 10, 15%, whatever that looks like, but it's not that much. Now, the money, again, I'll pay my lenders, right? I'll pay them a fee. Grit, I've got VAs, I've got lead managers, I've got closers. They'll come in and every time they get a deal across the finish line, I pay them a fee. But again, though, I own the deal. All right, so that is the deal formula. At the top, you focus on scaling. All right, when you start holding 100%, you focus on scaling. And the way you focus on scaling is you give away your profits so you can do more. Because again, 20% of 20 deals a month is still more than one deal that you do 100% of. If we're talking about the same amount of money. So, $10,000 deal, if you do one $10,000 deal, or if you do 20 $10,000 deals, but you only get to keep 20%, still more money. All right. So think about the scaling aspect of it. Now, again, if you own the deal, though, you're keeping way more than 20%. I'm just throwing that out there. Whenever you start to hold two of these, expertise or grit, focus on earning. All right. Focus on earning. And then whenever you're in a position where you can only do one of these, focus on skills. Focus on developing your skills. Most of the time, the very first skill we need to learn is simply sales. It's simply how to communicate with another human being to have an actual conversation where they want to talk business. Right. And I'm not going to turn this into a sales lesson, but oh my gosh, I can't count the number of what I would want to call cliche lessons that I learned starting sales. And I'm still growing in sales every day. Like, when it comes to sales, you never stop, and I can always do better, and I need to get better. And I know that's part of skill stacking. But what happens whenever we first start is maybe the first obstacle we actually have is just getting over that internal fear of talking to people. But once you realize that there's way more people out there that actually need your help, because real estate investors, even if you're a wholesaler, even if you're a flipper, even if you're a buy and hold investor, it doesn't matter. The world needs us because they have problems, and we help solve those problems that no one else can solve. Real estate agents can't solve the problems that we can solve as investors. They can't. All right. Brokerages can't solve those problems. There's no one else that can solve those problems. You know how banks solve them? It's called a foreclosure. It's called a short sale. That's how banks solve the problems that we solve. Like, think about that. Like, we are needed. Real estate investing is needed. All right. So that's the deal formula. As far as expertise, this is a giant list of expertise that you can provide to the market where you can get paid a fee, you start to own the deal, and then you can start to control the deal. You pick. All right, money, same thing. So many ways to provide money. Grit, so many ways. All right, hopefully this lesson was really valuable to you, and I just want you to reflect on it, right? Remember, when it comes to skill stacking, the only thing you did was discover tonight what the deal formula is. I want you to reflect back on it and think about those three key ingredients: expertise, grit, and money, and understand that you probably already have a version of all three of them, no matter where you're at in your journey. The question is what can you do with it now? How can you start to move your pendulum forward so you start to get more and more momentum? Because whether you're just starting out or if you've already been rolling, you have momentum. And it doesn't matter how much of it you have, like, you're still moving forward. So make the mistakes and keep taking action. All right. Now, let's jump into my next lesson. And I want to take you on this journey of reflection, because I talk about this a lot. And when it comes to reflection, I had a epiphany where I realized I went through like this essentially a dark era in my life, and it was a point where I just felt like a complete failure. All right. To be complete honest, like I felt like I didn't accomplish anything. I felt like I was lost. I felt like I was letting my family down. I felt like I wasn't being the man that I knew I could be. And I discovered that I was thinking too broad. And whenever I started reflecting on this, I really realized that we all have the same life. We just have different paths. And that life, statistically, goes through the same events roughly around the same time. So if you look at this, reflecting decades, all right, this really lets you know where you're at in your journey. And it doesn't matter if you're starting out late or you're starting out early, like, really doesn't matter. The point of this is it's just to know that life is a journey. We need to enjoy the journey and know where we're at and know where we're going. Because if you don't know those two things, you will never move. And if you never move, you'll never develop a momentum, and you're going to end up on your deathbed looking back saying, what if? So check out this timeline, right? So 0 to 10. All right, I'm big on family. Like, I love God, family, country. And 0 to 10, this is whenever children develop their personality. And it's actually 0 to 7. But I, like, building this out, I went ahead and just put 10 on there because 0 to 7, like, your personality is set pretty much in stone. So, like, how you respond to certain things, it's developed at that young of an age. And there's a book on this that I read. I might have to find the book, but it just talks about, like, the personality traits that you develop 0 to 7 can never be altered after those time and that events in your life. But what can happen is you can learn how to deal with them better. Okay, so, we kind of get deep into the psyche here and the psychology, but I think it's important to understand because in real estate, in your journey, you're going to develop with the valley, right? So, like, in the Bible, when it says, guide me through the shadow what is Valley of the Shadow of Death, right? If you think about that, the valley, the definition of a valley means that it's in between two mountains. Okay. So here, actually, let's do this. I want to pull this up. So if we think about a valley, all right, this is really important. Valley, it means that it's in between two mountains. And if we're over here, then that would mean that the mountain on the left is bad. And in order to get over here to the good, we have to travel through the valley. So whenever we're going through those dark times, I think it's important for us to really reflect and understand that we're just in that valley. And it's not going to be like that forever. It's not going to last forever. It's short-lived. If you look at the reflecting in decades, we can clearly see that, right? So most people, they start to develop their identity 11 to 20, all right? And then the good stuff starts to happen, right? We start to find a career. We start to find what we do in life, 21 to 30. All right, and then normally around 30s and 40s, we start to get a family. Normally around 40s and 50s, we start to get stability. And then 50 and 60, we start to work on legacy. And then in their 60s, all right, this is the part that I really want to start talking about, because it doesn't matter if you're already over here. You always have time, okay? We always have time. However, over here, 60s and 70s, society says that that's when we're supposed to retire. That's when we're supposed to collect Social Security and all this other stuff. These makeshift handcuffs, ball and chains that our current society puts on us. And they say, hey, just make it to your 60 or 70, and then you can retire. Now you can live the good life. And if we're banking on that, well, Social Security, I mean, I don't know many people on Social Security that gets paid more than like $600-800, right? But I do know plenty of people who have rentals, and their rentals pay them way more than $600-800. So again, where do we spend our time? And with the reflecting in decades, I would challenge you to draw out a line and write back your journey. Write back these decades, reflect on your life, and see what it looks like. And that's what these question marks are about, right? I kind of gave you a guide on what a standard life may look like. It doesn't matter wrong, right, whatever it is yours. But my point is, draw out you a line. Look at what you did 20s to 30s. Look at what you did 30s to 40s. Look at what you did 60 to 70. Stop moving forward on me, man. And when you reflect back, now you're like, okay, I can see I got caught up in whatever society shifted me during this time frame. So for me, share an example, in my 20s and 30s, I joined the Air Force. All right. And I was bleeding red, white, and blue. All right. And then I separated in the Air Force, in this decade still. And I went and started my career with the Federal Aviation Administration. And again, I was drinking the Kool-Aid. And they told me that, I had the greatest career on earth because we're guaranteed retirement right here at 56. Like, you're not allowed to work past 56 as an air traffic controller because of health reasons, right? And it hit me like a bag of bricks. Essentially, they're telling me that I am going to work 3 decades for them so I can retire and collect a check that's going to be around $2,500 to $3,000 a month. And I was like, that is what you're putting on 30 years of my life. That's the receipt. That's the ticket. That's like, you're out of your mind. So around this same time, matter of fact, around 28, when I was 28, I started real estate investing. And when I was 31, 32 years old, I quit this career as a multimillionaire and never looked back. But it was because I made a decision. And again, it doesn't matter where you're at in your life. It doesn't matter if you're over here, over here. Like, it doesn't matter where you're at in your journey. All you have to do is choose to make that decision and never look back. So reflecting decades is super powerful. And we got to choose your hard. All right. This is really important too. Nothing comes easy. And the last thing I want to do is sell somebody a get rich quick scheme or an easy button, because one thing I can promise you is nothing is easy. Marriage isn't easy. Divorce isn't easy. Raising kids isn't easy. Not having kids isn't easy. Being an alcoholic isn't easy. Not being an alcoholic isn't easy. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, we got to choose our heart. Hopefully this is hitting home for you, because society says that there's only one way. Or at least that's what I believe forever. There's only one way. But no, that's not true. Like, it's not true at all. Live in faith, not fear. Napoleon Hill is one of my all-time favorite authors. And he's got a book. It's called Outwitting the Devil. If you haven't ever read Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, I highly advise you to literally go get that book. Get it on Audible. It's absolutely amazing. And Napoleon actually interviews the devil, right? And it's not a religious book, okay? Like, I believe in God and Jesus, and like, I live my life that way, but like, this book has nothing to do with Christianity or anything like that. Like, it's literally talking about the societal norms that I've been talking about the last 2 days. And Napoleon sits down with the devil and he's interviewing him, and he's talking about how he gets people swayed left and right, how he gets people to start smoking, how he gets people to start drinking, how he gets people to commit adultery, how the school system starts to weave into our youth's mind and starts to get them into the drifter. And when you listen to that book, like, he divides it, drifter and the driven, okay? And the drifter does exactly what it says it does, right? The drifter drifts. The drifter never stays focused. The drifter starts stuff, never finishes stuff, and they're always distracted. But just know, if you find yourself leaning more on the drifter side, just know that it's not your fault. It's your lack of understanding that keeps you over on the drifter side. So let's get some understanding. That's what I want to accomplish for you today, is understanding. So whenever you start looking at the driven, now you're sacrificing. Now you're talking with this conversation that Napoleon had with the devil, and you're saying, hey, you will not get me distracted. I have goals, I have plans, and it doesn't matter what you say is right or is the norm. I will not drift. I will stay true to my path, and I will live in faith and not fear. And it's a choice. So if you're watching this and you're with me right now, just know, if you're interested in getting into real estate investing, and you're interested in building your wealth, and you're interested in changing your trajectory, I can't even say the word, your path in your life, it is your choice. But you have to understand and be aware, bring awareness to all the things that get us distracted. All right. So choose my heart. What do I not want to do? What do I want? So great exercise. Draw a line down a piece of paper and answer these two questions. Put them side by side. What do you not want, and what do you want? And then reflect on that answer and be honest with yourself too. And it doesn't matter how cheesy the answers are or whatever. Like, this is yours, right? And me and Lori, we went to shoot, it's Tony Robbins' event. I can't think. Unleash the Power Within. UPW. Went to Tony Robbins' event, and when we was there, he gave us this one exercise, and it changed our marriage forever. And what he did was he said, I want you to draw a line down a piece of paper, and I want you to put down what you do not value on one side. And on the other side, I want you to put down what you value. And we're driving home after the event. And I'm like, Lori, we got to do this. All right, we got to do this. And I'm sitting in the passenger seat. So I start drawing. And I do mine, right? So I draw a line down the piece of paper, and I write down everything that I do not value. And then I wrote down everything that I value. And then I put my piece of paper away. And up until this point, I would have swore to you, I would have told you that mine and Lori's goals, my wife, okay, I think we've been married like 20 years. We've been together for 20 years. She'll correct me. I'm sure she will. But I would have swore to you that we had completely different goals. We had completely different ambitions, and we wanted different things in life. Well, I drew another line down on a piece of paper, and I put down what Lori does not value and what she does value. And I started writing it out and asking her questions. And she's like, we're sharing information. Then we held them side by side. They were freaking identical. And Tony talks about this values versus beliefs. And I want to share it with you now. All right. He talks about these values versus beliefs. And what he describes is a target. And he says, your target is your values. Most people, like if you're watching this right now and, you see me on social and, you watch those things, most likely, as a matter of fact, like you can almost say 100%, our values align. But if there's something that we disagree on, something that you saw me do, see me say, whatever that is, and you're like, don't really agree with that, Eric. Nope, not me. Most likely, it is not our values that was the issue. It was our beliefs on how to get there. It was our beliefs on how to get to the values and hit the values that are different. Majority of human beings are good by nature. It's just our beliefs on how we hit our values that causes the disagreement. And yeah, okay. So I wanted to share that with you. That wasn't even part, like I wasn't even planning on sharing that, but it was important whenever we talk about like drawing that line down the piece of paper. So think about that. And then you can use that too as you communicate, especially when you're communicating with these sellers, even buyers, right? Think about that. Like if they start to push your buttons, if you start to get the FUs and all this other stuff, most likely you guys value the same thing. It's just the beliefs on how to get there is completely different. So with you're sending out text messages, you're sending out cold calls, you're sending out RVMs, emails, door knocking, whatever that is, and you're going to get the people who don't like that type of outreach. And that's perfectly fine, because whenever their problem becomes so apparent that they need you, now all of a sudden they're going to have a conversation with you. So keep that in the back of your mind as we continue down this lesson. All right. All right. So now I want to go to our last lesson before we call it a night. And this is how you make money in real estate. I'm going to break this down so simple. All right. Because the last thing we need to do is not know how we're going to be successful, not know how we're going to profit. And there's only three ways. There's active income, there's passive income, and there's a mixture of the two. All right. Whenever I first started investing, I was up under the impression that being a landlord, I don't know why it just zoomed in here. Let's see if I can fix this. That's not right. I messed this all up. Let's just do this. I'll close this out. Anyway, I was up under the impression that being a landlord was passive, That is false, my friend. That is false. Being a landlord is far from passive. I think that looks good. Yeah. And what happens is it's less work than active. That's the only difference. There's still money, or sorry, there's still actions that has to happen. All right, whenever you talk about being a landlord. All right. And then there's lending. All right. Well, is lending really passive? And the answer is no, because you still have to manage people. You still have to have conversations. You still have to know or talk or have someone who can draw up the documents. All right. So nothing is truly passive. And I want to kind of just remove that concept right off the bat. All right. Because if you're watching anything that I'm putting out there right now, creating the Deal Boss Project, if you're interested in seeing what the Deal Boss Project is, you can go to dealbossproject.com/invite. It's free. It's a Skool community, and I dive deep into all this stuff. But with the investing stage, okay, when it comes to making money in real estate, making money anywhere, growing wealth, there is nothing that is 100% passive, meaning you don't have to do anything, meaning you don't have to have skills. Because the last time I checked, whenever you put money into the stock market, how much money are you making? Okay. And if you're just letting it set and letting it ride, oh my goodness. So I'll share a story with you. Whenever I was 17, almost 18 years old, and I flipped a truck, and I made like $3,000 on this truck. Okay. And I went to Edward and Jones, and it's neighborhood Edwards and Jones, right? Like we knew them, family, friends. And I was like, hey man, I just made $3,000. I'm like 17 years old, 18 years old. I guess I had to be 18. Okay. And I was like, hey, I want you to invest this money. I don't want to touch it. I want to leave it in there forever. Well, what he did was he put it in a mutual fund. I didn't know what a mutual fund was. I just got advised by this guy that mutual fund was what I needed to do. Well, I let that thing set for about 12 years, and I think I made maybe $200-300 on it on a mutual fund. However, around the same time period, like I could have invested in Apple stock, I could have invested in Google, I could have invested in all these things and made a killing. But I didn't know what I didn't know. And I wanted it to be completely passive. Why did I want it to be completely passive? I don't know, because that's what my friends and relatives told me that I needed to do. But I don't see them being rich. Like, I don't see them making millions and like living the life that I want. Why did I take advice from them? Because that's what I knew. So we need to really understand that. All right. So whenever I break down this investing stages, keep that in mind, because passive income is never truly passive. All right. You have to know how to do some things. Active income, being a wholesaler, wholesaling, rehabbing, hybrid, buy and hold. We'll get into this stuff. All right. We'll get into exit strategy. All right. So wholesaling. Wholesaling is always the go-to when you're cash poor. All right. So if you need cash, essentially what you're saying is I'm going to go out and I'm going to put in the work and I'm going to generate an opportunity. And instead of me letting this opportunity create me wealth, I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm going to give it to another investor who can use it to create their wealth. But that investor is going to pay me a fee. And maybe that fee's $2,000. Maybe that fee's $5,000. Maybe that fee is $20,000, $30,000. Like, who knows? But either way, you're getting a fee for that. All right. That's wholesaling. Whenever it works best, like being a newbie, I don't know about this. I put these notes down here because this is the norm. This is what's said out there in YouTube world and all this other stuff. However, by the end of this lesson, what you're going to realize is to be an investor, to be someone who's creating wealth. You leverage every one of these exit strategies all the time. So wholesaling best as a newbie? Not really. It's best whenever the deal doesn't work for me. So if I'm generating a deal, if I'm generating an opportunity in my real estate business and it's not a good fit for my flipping business or my portfolio, then why would I not leverage it and go out and put it in someone else's pocket, put it in someone else's portfolio and allow them to pay me a fee? That way I can pay my overhead. That way I can pay my team. That way I can take that money, reinvest it, and add to my portfolio. But this is a skill. It's not best for newbies. It's best for people who generate opportunities and want to understand how to capitalize on every opportunity. All right. So wholesaling, what is wholesaling? Well, wholesaling is whenever you actually close on a property and then you go clean it up a little bit and then you just resell it instead of renovating it. All right. So you can absolutely do wholesaling. Wholesaling is great for properties that, just need a little bit of lipstick, needs a little bit of clean out. You can make way more money by cutting the grass, for goodness sake, right? Make it look good. Rehabbing, this one's touchy for me, honestly, because I started my investing career as a rehabber. I didn't wholesale. I went straight to rehabbing and flipping properties and building my portfolio. And, I know a lot of flippers, they talk about making, 50, 60, 80K pops. That wasn't the reality of me. Our flipping business on average made 25, 30K. That was it. All right. And to do the flipping, it would take us anywhere between 3 to 6 months to get that profit. So, thinking about rehabbing, again, know your exit strategies, because when is it best to rehab? When is it best to wholesale? When is it best to hotel? All right. This isn't like a one size fits all thing. You have to understand what is working and when you need to use it. Hopefully that like connects with y'all, because again, I dropped like $60,000 on a real estate mastermind to get started in real estate. Gave me all the education, a bunch of freaking videos, but honestly, they didn't teach me anything. I learned whenever I was in the field actually doing the thing. And now I have proof in the rehabbing. Like, we flipped here in Greensboro, North Carolina. Okay. Like, the average home price here is like around 200K. And like, there's not that much spread here. Right. So, but if I'm in a different market, like in a California market where the average home price is $500,000 to $1 million, well, now I create more spread. And because there's more spread, well, yeah, 60, 80K flips might be the norm. So know your market. And we're going to talk about more. We're going to talk about more of knowing your market tomorrow. It's really important. Buy and hold. All right. Buy and hold is absolutely amazing because it creates wealth. Guys, this is the name of the game. There's not many assets out there that appreciate in value the way real estate does. If y'all don't realize this, I challenge you to just look at appreciation versus depreciation and understand what's happening here, because, a lot of people talk about like tax strategies with real estate. Well, that's great, tax strategies, but you got to actually have a cash problem. You got to actually have a tax problem in order to leverage the tax strategies in real estate. But when it comes to buy and hold, it's way more than that, because it creates wealth in so many different ways. It's the only asset that continuously goes up in value, appreciation, but yet the government says that it's worth less. So therefore, they let you depreciate it. It's the only asset where you can leverage lending, plug someone else into it. That way they pay you. And then you turn around and take that payment that you received, which is called rent, and then you pay someone else who bought the property for you. You can't do that with gold, right? You can't do that with stocks. You can't do that. Like, I don't know what else you can do that with. Like, I think the answer is nothing. All right. Like, this is it. There's so many ways to make money in a buy and hold opportunity. It's insane. And I'm not going to go deep into it. I just wanted to plant a couple of seeds with buy and holds, but also there's different skills. So in the beginning, buy and hold may not be your best plan. Maybe you only need to focus on wholesale so you can get some cash going. And then maybe you want to, maybe you have a construction background, right? Or maybe you know someone who is familiar with managing projects or familiar with rehabs or familiar with construction, and they can help you with flipping. Maybe that's you. I don't know. Maybe you're really good at managing people, and being a landlord's perfect. So you start property managing and you look into that and you start studying how to be a property manager. Whenever I first started building my portfolio, I had a older gentleman, and he oh man, he met me at one of my rentals, and we was talking, and he's like, son, he's like, you got a great head on your shoulders, but listen, if you think that being a landlord is going to be easy, then you got another thing coming. He's like, you called me and asked me about a property management company, because I reached out to him. I was like, hey man, like, what do you do as far as managing properties? Like, what's the answer? So, he met me and we're talking about property management companies. He says, son, he said, property management companies will do two things. They'll lose you 20% on the front. Then they'll charge you another 10% to lose the 20% for you. And what he was talking about is most property management companies, they will get paid to go find a tenant, put the tenant in there for a year. The tenant won't have retention, so they won't renew their lease, and then they'll get paid again. And now you, as a landlord, have turnover costs, because every time a tenant moves out, you have cleanup, you've got touch-up paint. There might be some some things that are broken or just needs to be corrected. Either way, that's cost. And if you got one or two rentals, that can eat your entire lunch. Like, they can eat all the profit that you just made. So having a good property manager, better yet, understanding how to manage your properties yourself and then being able to vet these people out, is the best way. Right. So, I'll never forget it, because he told me, he's like, the best thing you can do is learn how to be a property manager. He's like, that doesn't mean you go out and get a property management company. It just means you know how to vet tenants. You know how to get tenants in and keep them. And then every year increase your rent, $10, $20, $50, like, increase it every year. That way you always stay ahead of the game. And we've been doing that. And I mean, it's that advice right there is invaluable. Like, it's absolutely invaluable. So, lending. When it comes to lending, you can get yourself in big trouble. That's my clear cut, straightforward advice for lending. Because if you want to lend, for instance, there's this thing on the market right now. It's called gator lending. All right. I love the idea of gator lending. Essentially, all it is transactional funding. It just means that you're going to come in and you have $1,000, $5,000, whatever that is, but you can afford to pay the deposit. You can afford to pay, literally, like, the escrow fees, right? Like, so now someone is going to pay you a higher percentage for that little bit of money, so that they can do more transactions, or so they can do that one transaction. The issue is, you will get caught if you do not understand how to underwrite properties, if you don't understand the correct paperwork, if you're not getting actual equitable interest in the deal. You can get bit in lending a lot. So this isn't something to take lightly. And again, I just named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different exit strategies, and each one of these requires a certain skill set. However, every one of these requires the ability to generate opportunities, which is going to lead me to the last thing that I'm going to share with you. And that is in the Deal Boss Project, how we can come in so easily and we can increase our marketing. We got it broke down into stage 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And you can come in here, put in your email address that you created an account, and then you can say, hey, I want to generate 100 conversations every day in stage 1. Now, keep in mind, you can do this for each stage. So you come in here and you say, I want 100. All right. So total daily drip is 100. That means in stage 1, it's going to take 100 new contacts, 100 new phone numbers and emails, and it's going to roll them into your business, your operation. And then you're going to say, out of those, I want to make, since this is stage 1, we're going to say, hey, I want to make 0. I want to make 0 manual calls. I don't want to call any of them. So you turn it off. Or maybe you want to actually call these because you're just getting started and you're willing to do the grit. So you're going to turn that on 100 as well. All right. It doesn't matter. Then you're going to say, hey, out of those 100, I also want 100 SMS and I want 100 RVMs to be sent. So now every day, your business, your operation is going to grab 100 new contacts, load it into the system, and then it's going to automatically send 100 SMSs, 100 RVMs, and you can do the same thing for emails. And now you have all of this automatic marketing going out every day, generating you conversation after conversation, which turns into deals. And it's this easy, right? We've got it where you can, generate your own templates and everything, even emails, etc., RVMs, and you hit submit and boom, it turns it on, right? And all that's inside of the Deal Boss Project. So anyway, I want to go ahead and close that out. Again, if you're interested in joining the Deal Boss Project, come and jump in here, see what it's about. We set you up with the complete operation marketing system to generate leads, essentially. So, yeah, love to see you in here and love to serve you some more because I'm on a mission this year to make high-level wealth creation through real estate accessible to everyone by providing clear operations, clear marketing, and clear deal generation procedures that you can actually follow and not be overwhelmed. So again, the link to join the school is just dealbossproject.com/invite. It's completely free. Jump in here and you can join some of our events coming up. That's also free. And we'll see you tomorrow, same time.